What's going on, guys? Austin here, and in this video, we are going to be taking a look at the extra points lines of the week. We're going to start out with our week one recap. So I came off 3-3, not a bad start. I'm incredibly happy about my Browns pick. I love the over pick on the Falcons as well. The Commanders versus Jaguars was making me real nervous there for a second. I thought they were going to lose outright. Now the Rams, I was just completely off about the Rams. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. The 49ers, they played in a tsunami in Chicago, so I'm not really going to take too much account into that one. And then the Saints, they had an awful first half, first three quarters against the Falcons, and then the Falcons do what the Falcons do, and they blew a lead. I think the Saints ended up kicking a field goal to win the game by like 1 or 2 points. Obviously, it's not enough to cover the 5.5. Moving forward, I expect the Saints to be a more well-rounded whole game team. But nonetheless, they pulled out the win, which I thought about just putting the Saints outright. But, I mean, the Falcons are a terrible team. And so that one's on me, 3-3 right here. So let's get into the extra points lines of week 2. My favorite pick as far as games outright is going to be Saints plus 2.5 versus Tampa. Tampa they're not a well put together team as far as their mentality right now. Brady, he's got one foot in the door of retirement. He's not coming back with the TB12 mentality. The offensive line didn't look great. Their offense did not look good at all against Dallas. Dallas couldn't score to save their lives, and Tampa still, really had nothing to do. Even though they kept getting short fields, Brady was not good in the red zone. He did not have great pocket and situational awareness. That coupled with the fact that I don't think the Saints are going to be bad for 3 quarters and then good for 1 again. They're probably going to be, much closer to the team that I think they are, and that's good for 75% of the game. And I think a good Saints team is better than a Tampa team that's good for 4 quarters. Tampa playing their best versus the Saints that's playing good for, 75, 80% of the game. Saints going to win that game to me. Then I've got the Jets plus 5.5 at Cleveland. I think that's a disrespectful line. The Jets at home played one of the best teams in the NFL. They played my Super Bowl pick. And Cleveland, they went on the road and they played, one of the worst teams in the league, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, one of the worst offensive lines in the league, one of the worst coaching staffs in the league. And, they barely pulled out that victory. I think Cleveland is going to win the game, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say it's only going to be by a field goal at most. And even if they're up, the Jets can easily pull a backdoor cover because Zach Wilson's probably going to be back by this game. There was a chance that he could play in the Baltimore game, but Zach Wilson's probably going to be back in this game. And he has a lot more big play potential than Joe Flacco does anymore. So look for the Jets to at least cover that 5.5 point under. Then I've got the Ravens minus 3.5 versus the Dolphins. A lot of people are going to be overreacting to the Dolphins. 13-point victory over the New England Patriots. But Patriots couldn't move the football. The Dolphins have the defensive pieces to stop the Patriots. But what we have to remember is that Bill Belichick is always at his worst, and even then, he still has a winning record, but he's always at his worst in the month of September, the very beginning of the season. So let's not put too much thought into, oh my gosh, the Dolphins blew out the Patriots are done. This Ravens team is an elite football team because of their elite quarterback, and there's no way around it that they're going to beat the Dolphins. This line should be 5.5. I'm gonna hammer that 3.5. And then I've got a couple over-unders. I really like a couple of these next. After this Commanders, I've got a couple over-unders. So I love the Commanders to win outright. Maybe love is too strong of a word. I do have these ranked in my order. So out of all the games that I'd have to bet an underdog to win, I do like the Saints, then the Jets, then the Commanders. Just straight up outright, you're going to get, I think it's like minus 108 odds, but plus, or it's going to be like plus 110 odds, and then, plus 1.5. I think it's minus 110. So the Commanders, listen, they've got a great front seven. They've got a good defensive head coach. They've got a very good quarterback, a good running game, and a really decent set of weapons now. I mean, between Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel now as a number 3, that's a decent array of weapons that they can come at Detroit with. Detroit has a terrible defense. Now, I think Detroit should be able to run the football at will, but when it comes to the passing game, they're going to be under some pressure, with guys like Montez Sweat and Chase Young on that Commanders front seven. I like the Commanders to win outright, but if you're a little uncomfortable and you'd rather see a 1-point Lions victory, take the Commanders plus 1.5. Now, my over-unders. I'm going to take the under on that Patriots Steelers. Steelers could not score to save their life. They got 5 turnovers against the Bengals, and they still only managed to score 20 points in regulation. That's abysmal. The New England Patriots went down to Miami. They always play poorly in Miami, and they always play poorly at the beginning of the season. But I think the Steelers' defense is even better than the Dolphins' defense because I wasn't really that impressed with the Dolphins' defense. These are 2 of the top 10 defenses in the league playing against each other, and they're also 2 of the bottom 10 offenses in the league playing against each other. That 40.5, it seems ridiculous that it would be that high. I feel like that number should be like 38.5, maybe 39, but I expect the Steelers to win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won it like 17-12 or something like that. Then I love the Bengals over Bengals at Cowboys over 41.5. Could you imagine the over-under being set for Steelers Patriots nearly the same as Bengals Cowboys? It's literally a 1-point difference. That just doesn't sound right. The Bengals are one of the most explosive offenses in the league. We've seen them score 40 points by themselves, and the Cowboys have enough weapons to get to like 10, 12 points on a Bengals defense that's not as good as the Tampa defense. So I think the Bengals, after losing an embarrassing game to the Steelers, are going to come out firing. I expect them to win this game by a lot. I believe Bengals are favored by 6.5, maybe 7.5. That's a line I like, just not as much as I like these lines. So the Bengals, they might get I don't know, like 75% of the way to that over just by themselves. Don't be surprised if the Bengals win, 35-10, 35-14 against the Cowboys. And then the Vikings at Eagles. This one is a really interesting one because the Eagles coming into the season were projected to be a run-heavy team. And they didn't even use Devontae Smith against the Lions, and A.J. Brown just carved him up by himself. This game, it's going to be 2 okay defenses, 2 what I would consider average, maybe above average defenses, and 2 of the league's most underrated offenses. That 51.5, that is a high number to get around. But considering the fact that the Vikings and the Eagles could easily both score 27 points, they could easily score, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, and 2 field goals. I'm not really worried about that 51.5. I like all these bets. The only one that I'm really nervous about is that Commanders versus Detroit, just because it's 2 teams that aren't very good going up against each other. It's really hard to tell, when one player is going to have just an amazing day and, he's just going to wreck the game for you. So my 6 most confident bets would be the Saints, Jets, Ravens, and then the 3 over-unders. I still do like the Commanders outright, though. But if you want a little bit of a teaser, I like a teaser on this one. You combine all 6 parlays, and you add a plus 3-point teaser, which means the Saints are going to be 5.5-point underdogs. The Jets are going to be 8.5-point underdogs. The Ravens are going to be 0.5-point favorites, meaning they just need to win. The Commanders are going to be 4.5-point underdogs. The over-under for the Patriots Steelers is going to be 43.5. Bengals Cowboys, you'd want to take that under 44.5. And the Vikings at Eagles, you want to take that over 48.5. And a $10 bet on that one would pay out for $140. Teasers make things a little safer. Obviously, the odds are going to go down. And honestly, a parlay on something like this, $10 would probably pay something out like, $2,000, $3,000. But I'm not suggesting to parlay all of them. Take a look at which one of these that you think is the best bet and make that judgment for yourself. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and make sure to stay up to date on all of our future content.